This past Friday, I had the opportunity to speak with a bunch of teenagers about living between two worlds. I was the speaker at a youth rally, a local youth rally, and I talked about living between two worlds. I compared my family's love of Disney and that progression, which started from vague familiarity to a deep knowledge as we've learned more and more about Disney. We've been there a few times. We've learned how to navigate the parks, and we've learned more about the characters. We've fallen more and more in love with Disney. In fact, so much so that my wife is a Disney travel agent now, and she helps people book trips because of her knowledge of the parks and whatnot. And I compared that to our lives in the spiritual. When we spend more time in the spiritual realm, we become more people of the spirit and less people of the natural, more people of the supernatural. And we live between two worlds. In fact, that's how we're created to be. When God created Adam and Eve in the garden, he created physical bodies, but he breathed a soul into those bodies, a supernatural soul. And we're created to live between two worlds, natural beings living supernaturally. And that was the gist of my message with those teenagers. But it also got me thinking more about how I do children's ministry. And my goal as a children's pastor needs to be more about training kids to live in the supernatural and less about how to interact in the natural. Now, mind you that we live between two worlds. So we have to learn how to be creatures of the natural. But I think we can only do that effectively when we live in the supernatural more, when we begin to learn more about the supernatural, when we spend more time in the supernatural. And how do we do that? Obviously, we spend time in prayer. We spend time with our Heavenly Father. We spend time in His Word, learning about what it means to be supernatural. And most importantly, and I mean most importantly, the day of Pentecost reminds us that God's Spirit is put inside us so that we can live supernaturally every day. And so I just wanted my Thursday thought to include that we must train kids to be people who know how to navigate living between two worlds, knowing how to be physical, natural creatures who live supernaturally. And we do that through the lessons we teach them, for sure. But I think most importantly, we do that when we give them opportunities to live in the supernatural. When we give them opportunities to hear the voice of God. When we give them opportunities to spend extended time in prayer. When we give them opportunities to worship, not just to jump around and burn off some energy, but to truly engage with our Creator. And so my Thursday thought this week is this. I want to encourage you to look for opportunities to let your kids live in the supernatural. Don't just teach them about it, because it's one thing to learn about it, but it's another thing entirely to actually be there. And so I want to encourage you to look for those opportunities to put your kids in supernatural situations and then let God show up and see what happens. Because I believe if we do that, our ministries will change dramatically. And they won't change because we've changed. They'll change because the kids have changed. So anyway, I will encourage you with that Thursday thought. If you have any questions, shoot them in the comment section. Find me on Twitter, Pastor Jared M. And I love interacting with you guys. So thanks so much for watching. Have a great week.